The night my boyfriend dumped me, he called me a cheater for having dinner with a friend. Then I found out he'd been sleeping with 7 other women behind my back and lying about it for months, while making me feel like I was the one who betrayed him. My boyfriend 51 male, and I 47 female. When my boyfriend and I officially became exclusive, I thought I was stepping into something real, something that, for once, felt promising. We'd only known each other for a month, but everything had moved fast. Too fast. From the moment we met online, he came on strong, sweet messages every morning, constant calls, compliments that made me blush, even though I didn't quite know how to handle them. He told me right after our first date that he wasn't talking to anyone else, that I was the only one. It felt flattering at first, but also a little much. I tried to slow things down, but he was relentless in this charming, gentle way that made me feel like I'd be foolish to push him away. Still, I wasn't sure. I liked him, but I wasn't there yet. He wanted exclusivity, within weeks. My friends in NYC rolled their eyes when I told them, said it was a red flag, that people who rush love are either hiding something or desperate for control. I didn't want to believe that. He seemed kind, attentive, emotionally available. That kind of sweetness is rare. Then one random night, it clicked. I don't know if it was the way he looked at me, the way he listened, or the way he said my name, but I fell. I fell hard. And almost immediately, the floor gave out from under me. Barely a week after we agreed to be official, I got a message from a woman I didn't know. She said she was his partner, not ex-partner, and that they had kids together. She told me they were still a family. I remember sitting there, staring at my phone, my hands shaking so bad I could barely type. My stomach dropped. My mind went blank. I felt like the world was spinning out of control. He had mentioned her before, casually, in passing, said she was his last ex, someone from his past, nothing serious anymore. Never once did he say they had children. Never once did he mention that their past was still a tangled, complicated, living thing. I didn't know who to believe. Instinctively, I wanted to believe her. Why would she reach out if it wasn't true? But at the same time, I couldn't reconcile it with the man I thought I knew. The one who texted me every morning to check if I'd eaten breakfast. The one who looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Could he really be living a double life? I confronted him, of course. His reaction was somewhere between panic and practiced calm, like he'd rehearsed this before. He swore up and down that she was his crazy ex, that they weren't together, that she was just trying to sabotage his happiness because she couldn't let him go. He said she was manipulative, that she'd used the kids as leverage to hurt him before. The way he spoke, the way his voice cracked, it sounded real. Or maybe I just wanted it to be real. Because the alternative was too humiliating to bear. That I was just another name in a string of women he'd lied to. That he'd looked me in the eyes and told me I was special, while still sleeping in the same bed as someone else. Backstory. When his ex messaged me, he was literally standing in my apartment, slipping on his shoes, saying he had to leave for a work emergency. It was a Sunday. He works remotely. There was no reason for him to be rushing off to the office, but he looked stressed, anxious, fumbling for his jacket like the walls were closing in on him. I remember thinking it was strange, but I didn't question it. I just told him to drive safe. And then, as the door shut behind him, my phone buzzed. It was her. The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. My stomach dropped before I even opened the message. I just knew. She said she was his partner. Not ex, not former girlfriend. Partner. They had children together, she said. A family. I remember reading her words over and over, my vision blurring from the tears I was trying to blink away. I felt sick. I could barely breathe. I called him immediately. When I told him what she said, he froze. He didn't deny it right away. He looked panicked, like a deer caught in headlights. His face was all confusion and guilt, like he was trying to calculate how much I already knew. That look told me everything before his words did. He left, said he really had to go, and I just sat there, staring at my phone, waiting for some kind of explanation that would make sense. A few minutes later, he called. His voice was tense, low, but calm in that rehearsed kind of way people get when they're about to manipulate you into pity. He said it was complicated. He said she was harassing him and that she wouldn't stop. He said she was unstable, that she'd ruin both of our lives if we kept seeing each other. Then he broke up with me. Just like that. He told me it wasn't fair to me, that I'd never trust him again, that it was better to end things now before things got worse. He told me the whole story, or at least his version of it. According to him, the kids weren't biologically his, but he'd helped raise them. He said he cared for them deeply but hadn't been intimate with their mother in a long time. He said he stayed in their lives out of responsibility, not love. The whole thing sounded like a bad soap opera. A man torn between the woman he claims to love and the family he says isn't really his. I didn't know what to believe. Every word he said made me feel like I was losing my mind, but I made him say it out loud, that we were done. I needed to hear the words. "So we're breaking up?" I asked. There was a pause, long and heavy. Then, yeah. I hung up, and the silence afterward felt like being buried alive. I cried until I couldn't anymore. I felt stupid, small, humiliated. How could I not have seen it? The red flags, the timing, the way he rushed everything, it was all right there. I was angry at him, but even more at myself. I had let this man in so easily. I had believed every word, every tender moment. But before I could even begin to process it, he called again. Said he didn't want to end it. Said he was sorry. Said he loved me. Said all the right things. I didn't respond much. I was numb. I didn't agree to anything. He never outright asked me to get back together either. That was the day I became single again, whether he liked it or not. A few weeks before everything with my boyfriend exploded, someone else had quietly slipped back into my life. Steve. Steve and I had history, though not the kind that burns. We dated briefly years ago, something short and casual that never really stuck. But afterward, we'd fallen into this odd rhythm of friendship. He'd call me every once in a while just to check in, to ask how life was treating me. Every year around my birthday, he'd take me out to dinner. Nothing romantic, no expectations, just two people catching up. It was one of those easy, low-maintenance friendships that only worked because neither of us demanded much from the other. That said, Steve was also a chronic flake. He'd cancel plans last minute, forget to call back, disappear for weeks at a time. After the third time he bailed, I told him to lose my number. I didn't say it to be cruel. I was just tired of feeling like an afterthought. That was the last time we spoke. Until recently. He started texting again right around the time I started dating my now ex. At first, I ignored him. I had no interest in reopening that door. But when the chaos with my boyfriend started unraveling, the lies, the emotional exhaustion, the betrayal, I found myself responding. Not because I wanted Steve, but because I didn't really have anyone else. Most of my friends had moved away, grown distant, or were too busy living their own lives. I told him about the mess with my boyfriend, everything. He listened without judgment, the way he always had. We decided to meet up that Wednesday, but he texted later saying he couldn't make it and asked if I was free that night instead. I didn't have plans besides going to Mass at 7, so I agreed. Just dinner with a friend. Meanwhile, my ex kept blowing up my phone all day, calling, texting, begging me to talk. Saying he didn't want to break up, that he loved me, that we could fix it. But I was over it. Or at least I wanted to be. He dropped me so easily when things got hard. Why should I answer now? So I met Steve after church. We went to a cozy little restaurant not far from my place. It was supposed to be casual, just food and conversation, but then came the wine. I don't usually handle alcohol well. The problem is, I don't stop when I should. And that night I didn't. One glass became two became three. Steve isn't much of a drinker. He usually limits himself since he drives, but even he was sipping more than usual. I remember laughing a lot, louder than I should have, slurring a few words. At some point, I suggested we go to one of my local bars. It's what I always do when I don't want the night to end. A stupid habit. From there, everything went dark. I don't remember much of anything after that. Just fragments, the smell of liquor, the sound of music, Steve's hand on my arm guiding me somewhere. Then nothing. When I woke up the next morning, I asked Steve immediately, "What happened last night?" He said I'd been really drunk, blackout drunk, and that he'd driven me home safely. He mentioned, almost apologetically, that I might have kissed him a little. My heart stopped. "Did we do anything else?" I asked. "No," he said. "You were out of it. I wouldn't do that to you." Anyway, my boyfriend called me nonstop that night. He knew I was going out to meet Steve. I hadn't hidden it from him. But he still blew up my phone like I'd announced I was heading straight into sin. I ignored most of the calls. I was angry, confused, hurt, and still raw from everything that had happened earlier that day. I wasn't his girlfriend anymore, not after the way he ended things, and yet here he was, acting like he still owned a piece of me. Fast forward a few days, we got back together. Somehow. I don't even remember how it happened. Maybe it was the constant calls, the late-night apologies, or the way he said he couldn't sleep without hearing my voice. Maybe it was me, always too soft, always too willing to forgive. Either way, we found ourselves back in each other's orbit, pretending the cracks weren't already showing. But the relationship was never the same. Something between us had shifted, broken beyond repair. The trust was gone, not just mine but his too. He didn't know about the kiss with Steve at first. I didn't lie about it, I just didn't tell him. I didn't see the point. It had been one stupid, blurry, meaningless mistake, if it even counted as one, and I couldn't stomach the thought of adding more fuel to a fire that was already burning out of control. Of course, secrets never stay buried for long. He found out eventually. To this day, I still don't know how. Maybe he saw a message, or maybe he just sensed it. Either way, when he confronted me, it was like a bomb went off. He was furious, hurt, betrayed in a way that felt permanent. And worse, he didn't believe me when I told him nothing else had happened. I told him over and over that Steve didn't touch me, that I was drunk, that I barely even remembered kissing him. If I even did. But it didn't matter. In his mind, Steve and I had slept together that night. No amount of reassurance could change that. He said I'd cheated, that I'd moved on too fast, that I'd disrespected him and our relationship. I told him we weren't together then, that he was the one who broke it off, that I had every right to go out and do whatever I wanted. But to him, it wasn't about technicalities. It was about betrayal. He said that even if we weren't officially together, I should have had the decency to wait. I still stood my ground. I told him I didn't cheat, that I didn't owe him loyalty in the hours after he ended things. But no matter what I said, it didn't matter. That night became a ghost that haunted every argument after. Steve's name was like a trigger, one mention, and the rage in his eyes came alive again. There's honestly so much more to this story that I could fill an entire book, or at least a podcast season, just unpacking the mess. Sometimes I think about recording it, just so I can finally make sense of how I ended up here, stuck between guilt, confusion, and disbelief. But I guess what I really want to know from an outsider's point of view is this. Did I cheat? Was what I did really cheating? To be clear, I've never wanted anything romantic or physical with Steve. We tried that once before, it didn't work out, and when we reconnected, it was strictly as friends. I like having someone I could talk to, someone who didn't demand anything from me or twist my words. But my boyfriend refuses to believe that. In his mind, there's no such thing as just friends, not between a man and a woman, especially not when feelings or alcohol are involved. And maybe it would all be easier to swallow if he had been faithful himself. But here's the plot twist. He's the one who cheated. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. I caught him 3 different times talking to or meeting up with at least 7 different women. Some were just online flings, but a couple of them claimed it went further, that they actually slept together. He, of course, denied everything. Swore on his life that nothing physical ever happened. Said they were all just mistakes, emotional lapses, conversations that went too far. Even now, I don't know what's true. Part of me believes him because I want to, but another part, the quieter, colder part, knows better. Knows that people who lie that easily don't just stop. Every time I think about it, I feel this hollow ache in my chest, like something inside me still refuses to accept it. What makes it worse is that he somehow managed to turn it all back on me. He said he cheated because of me. Because of what I did with Steve, because I emotionally abandoned him, because I betrayed him first. Maybe he's right, at least a little. Maybe I did mess up. Maybe I didn't handle things the way I should have. But still, it feels wrong that I'm the one carrying all the shame when he's the one who went out and did it again and again. Now, I don't even know what we are. We're together, technically, but it doesn't feel like it. It's this half relationship built on pain and resentment and denial. Every time we try to move forward, one of us pulls the other back into the past. We talk about love, about trying again, about fixing what's broken, but deep down, I think we both know it's already too late. It's just messy, complicated, toxic on both sides. I can't tell anymore who's right, who's wrong, or if there's even a point in keeping score. All I know is that I'm tired. Tired of feeling guilty, tired of defending myself, tired of pretending that love is enough, when it clearly isn't. What should I do? My mind is just kind of blank on taking the next step. Any advice is welcomed.